Hello. Author Jared Nescher here again. I said on another video that I was going to do some tributes to some of the authors that inspired me to become an author. Especially they inspired me to dream. This video goes out to the very first author who truly inspired me. J.R.R. Tolkien's work was phenomenal. And he was one of the first authors that ever inspired me. So this video is a tribute to him and a thank you to him and his family for keeping it out there, keeping it going. Originally, growing up, I think one of the first times I really delved into fantasy was my mom always had the Lord of the Rings books on the shelf, the hardback, the ring design on the cover, and I have one of them somewhere. I tried to keep a hold of them, and because they're priceless. They just mean a lot to me. I couldn't read, but looking at the books, they kind of like got my imagination kicking, going, okay, what's in those covers? And so growing up, my mom actually did take the time to start reading me Lord of the Rings. And there are a few other books she read to me. The Chronicles of Narnia. Of course, you get a few Winnie the Pooh books in there. But growing up, I think I enjoyed, growing up with Lord of the Rings and The Hobbit. Some parents would say, that's a little too advanced. And, perhaps it is, but I enjoyed it. It opened up my eyes to a whole different world out there, and it inspired me. And I started dreaming and having ideas of distant lands and adventures. And we lived on a 40-acre property. So on Saturdays, I'd go out into the forest. We had a good backfield with forest, and that was my day. Adventuring, having fun, and it really impacted me. And to think of where it came from too, because from what I've read, correct me if I'm wrong, that he started it as a linguistics challenge, and then it kind of evolved into a story. And some of the things like Lord of the Rings was one book. And it was his editor that, said, okay, let's cut this up into 3 books, and changed a little bit of them. But, just the thought of it starting out like that, and, if he decided not to do it, what would my life be like today if those books didn't exist? And people think it's sometimes the big things that really direct our lives, and it's true, but sometimes it's also the small things. Something that our child has read, something that our child sees on TV. Growing up with the Lord of the Rings, and then the first the Hobbit cartoon, I loved it. I thought it was awesome. And then going into the Lord of the Rings cartoon, change of how they did the characters, how they were drawn, how the action was different from the Hobbit cartoon, but I really enjoyed it. It gave me that sense of big adventure, and I remember being picked on at school a lot because I started to say things that would come out of Lord of the Rings sometimes. Like we'd be running from one school building to another building, and I'd say things like, "Fly, fly, the enemies are upon us," and people would look at me like, "What the heck are you on, child?" So, I really just absorbed it. It really impacted my life a lot. And then growing up, going towards my senior year, looking at college and looking into going into acting, a friend of mine and I sat down and said, "You know what, Lord of the Rings needs to be a movie." So we started sitting down and sketching it, how we'd turn it into a movie, and the characters that we would have play some of the parts. And believe it or not, the characters that we chose for those parts, not a single one of them ended up in the actual movies today. So it was exciting. I remember my mom constantly telling me that it's such a big book, the Lord of the Rings, the Hobbit, that never, ever would they become a motion picture. And that's where I give Peter Jackson a lot of respect, is because he had kind of like the attitude that I did, looking at some of the behind the scenes of the movies. He said, well, he was waiting for someone else to make them, and no one else would, so he said, "Fine, I'll do it." And I think that's an awesome personality. So, I tip my hat to that. That's just awesome. And he took on and it was one of those unbelievable tasks that most people wouldn't even take on, because it was such an enormous world that had impacted the fantasy genre. So to take on something like that was probably scary. It was a big task, and the way they came out, the movies, and the way the Hobbit's coming out now, I really enjoy them. I do butt heads with a lot of people, because you have a lot of people that are upset and they get frustrated and say, "Well, you messed it up, and you really, really completely screwed up the movie. He left out this character, he added this character, and this never happened." And it's true. Movies, especially as someone who's wanting to become a director, and I studied film and directing, and then now, as an author, the books, I don't think I've seen a movie today that has followed the book word for word. And one of the things that book fans don't understand is a picture is worth 1,000 words. So sometimes you don't need to have a lot of what's in a book in a movie, because sometimes a look or a one scene can portray a lot. And I think a lot of people with books, they get caught into, well, this is what I'm already expecting. And so when it finally comes out, a lot of them are let down. I know one of my friends still to this day hates what was done to the Lord of the Rings trilogy. And I'm not, she probably hasn't even watched one of the Hobbits. She's probably frustrated. I have another friend who watched The Hobbit, the Unexpected Journey, Desolation of Smaug, and same thing, he's all frustrated. But when it comes to a fan like myself who studied directing and, books, I love books, I've been able to separate myself from this is the movie and this is the book. And so I never put the two together because it just doesn't work. Never does. I sometimes will say, "Oh, well, that happened in the book, but that didn't." I'll acknowledge those things, but at the same time, I don't let it get to me. I think one of the reasons why is because, especially for an author, imagining these things in your head and trying to get it across to someone, like Minas Tirith. That city is so beautiful. It's unbelievable, and when you read about it, you're going like, oh man, I want to go there. I would love and give anything to see that place. And I think when I went into the theaters, that was kind of my expectation. And so while other people were nitpicking about, oh, well, this character wasn't there or that didn't happen, I was looking at the locations and the characters and going, I just got to see that. You know, I didn't have to use my imagination for once, even though my imagination is, you know, some movies, you know, less. Some movies, my imagination actually made it look better than what it came out on the film. But to see some of those locations in Lord of the Rings almost made me cry. Because here it was, my grandfather had the books, my mom had the books, and then I have the books. And then to see the characters come to life and those locations, I was willing to let go of some of those things because I got to see this adventure on the screen. And that's one of the reasons why I'm able to kind of let go of that issue. And so as some people are mad at Peter Jackson, I actually I give him thanks. He brought a world that I had loved all my life to the screen when I think no one else had the guts to even try it. And not only did he try, but he succeeded. And, you know, yeah, if you grab the book and grab the movie, you could find something wrong with it within the first 5 seconds of the movie. That wasn't the point to me. I think to the actors and to the staff that worked on it, it wasn't the point to them either. They were trying to keep the spirit of what J.R.R. Tolkien's did alive. And so I really appreciate the Peter Jackson, the movie team, the actors for bringing that to life. That was awesome. It was just another step for me to take this book that had impacted me further. As a matter of fact, I bought Endurin, The Flame of the West. Probably didn't pronounce that right. I bought it, bought this scabbard, and I wore it for my wedding day. And my wife, you know, had no problem with it. She knew what it meant to me. So, yeah, it still impacts me. And I love to read it to my son. The whole world was just really, really awesome. And I think for a lot of people, especially when it came out, fantasy was there, but not too much. You had people that were, you know, really pushing the boundaries. And people were like, what is this? You know, the fantasy, what is this? You know, and people like J.R.R. Tolkien's paved the way for people like me today. So for me to get into a fantasy genre or even a science fiction genre was paved by the people who went before me. So, you know, as a tribute to J.R.R. Tolkien's and to his family, it's thank you for writing these books because they inspired me to dream, have adventures. There went my phone. It's got a dragon call on it. Love dragons. J.R.R. Tolkien got me started on that one. I love Smog. But it just thank you because you got me to the point to where in my life I can dream, I can have adventures, I can look forward to something, and it was just an amazing gift. And more than that is you paved the road for future authors like me to be able to jump into a fantasy and for people to accept it and acknowledge it as a form of writing and as reading material. And I know the science fiction and fantasy genre is just exploded. And I just want to say thank you. And for those other fans of J.R.R. Tolkien's, if you have something else you want to add or say, or agree with me, disagree with me, go ahead and make a comment. I got no problem with that. I just, most people don't think that a book can impact somebody. That it's got to be something, physical happen in their life. And I'm going, a book is physical. I can hold that book. I can read that book. And it changes people. Books really do affect people. And for those that paved the way for the generations that we have today, it's just, thank you. J.R.R. Tolkien, I wish I could have met you. It would have been awesome. So that's my tribute to J.R.R. Tolkien. Like I said, if there's anything else you want to say, other J.R.R. Tolkien fans who, like I say, even people who don't like J.R.R. Tolkien, if you know someone else who was an author who helped pave the way for future authors, make a comment below. I try to read everything I can, so just leave a comment. All right, well, this was one of the tributes. I've got at least 2 more coming up. Other authors who inspired me to become an author and basically have an adventure. That's what my life is having an adventure, thinking it up here, and sharing it with other people. And I really hope you like it. Have a wonderful day.